And welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya. Now more than ever, I'm Jeff Kinanga. Now, if you've been watching The Bench all this week, you know the theme, State of the Nation's Security. But I tell you folks, it's been so heavy for the most part, I think it's time we should take a little break and get a little motivation, if you will. My guest today actually first came on The Bench. He reminded me, literally, almost to the day, 4 years ago. He was about 30-year-old then. He was a self-made millionaire. He was on a roll. Life was his oyster. A few months later, folks, it was all downhill. He was in debt more than $1 million. But that's not even the story. Going back, he decided one day he didn't want to be employed after being laid off. Started becoming his own millionaire entrepreneur, and he did. But folks, life is not as rosy as that. There's a point where he lived out of his car, no job, would go to a gas station, petrol station if you will, and take a shower. And that's how he would live. But bottom line, he never gave up. In fact, last time he was here, he was working on this book, The Unemployed Millionaire. It was published soon after, huge bestseller. This one is a huge one, folks. Everyone keeps buying it, and it's a huge source of motivation. He didn't stop there. A couple more, folks. The Art and Science of Success, huge bestseller online, Amazon.com. It's up to sequel number 5, folks. This is volume 5 right here. Still selling. Obviously, there's a formula here that seems to be working. He ventured away from Success University, which is what he was doing then, and joined a group now, Travel Group, and he'll tell us more about it. But last year, he made $1 million US in sales. Look what they got him. Diamond ring, folks, 60 diamonds on this ring. You know where this is going. Folks, sit back. He's only 35 years old. I could do with some motivation right now. I'm sure you can too. He's back. Sit back. Matt Morris.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Good to see you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My goodness. Congratulations on the successes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before they accuse me of walking away with this stuff, let me give it right back to you.
Okay,
you can have it back.
All right.
Congratulations. But
Thank you.
Last time you were here, obviously you were working on this book.
Exactly.
This was a huge thing you were talking about, the unemployment. You can make $1 million sitting out of your home.
Sure.
And you published it.
Yeah, we did.
It was huge.
We did. We had a lot of success with it, and it's so interesting the way the world works. As I'm finishing up the book, and everything is great, as you mentioned. Then all of a sudden, I finish the book, and then things change. Went through more challenges, and so there's been so many challenges along the way. I keep thinking one day the challenges are just going to go away and it's going to be easy sailing, but that wasn't the case.
And the challenge was you almost lost $1 million, or it was
actually over $750,000 US dollars in debt at age 32. And I was kind of, being an entrepreneur, we have kind of the personality where we're willing to take risks and, it's an adventure, And so I was almost proud of myself, $750,000 in debt at only 32 years old. I thought that was somewhat impressive, even though it's a business failure. At least, who loans that much money to a 32-year-old? My wife was not so impressed.
No, man. I would be devastated.
Sure.
In Kenya shillings, that's probably like 60 million shillings.
No, I was. Yeah. In fact, I was devastated. It was a big deal because the company I had started at the time to create the success that I had, it was my baby. It was something that I thought I'd be doing for the next 20 years, 30 years of my life. Yeah. And so, it's kind of everything I had done had led up to that point. And when it's your baby that you've created, and suddenly through mistakes that I made and challenges that happen, outside influences, inside influences, you name it, then it was a tough one to take.
And there was a bit of fraud from West Africa, wasn't there?
We did, actually, out of Ghana. Actually, we had quite a bit. We had almost $200,000 of fraud there, and then the merchant bank held $300,000. So we had about a $500,000 hit in 1 month. And not being a huge company, we're generating several million a year in revenues, but certainly not over $1 million a month in revenues. And so to have $500,000 hit in 1 month took a big toll. And
how does one recover from that, Matt? How does one bounce back from something like that? Because most people couldn't.
Being a motivational speaker, it was one of those tough times where I had to take my own advice. And as much as and I've read hundreds of these books, hundreds of personal development books, and as much motivation as I had gotten over the years, it was just be real open, it was a tough time. So I lost 15 pounds. I couldn't eat, just stomach tied up in knots all day long, anxiety. In fact, I came that close to going to a psychologist to get on some type of mood altering drugs, because I just couldn't get peace. I couldn't get happiness. And so it was a challenge. And I just kept telling myself, if you're going through hell, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I just told myself, one day it's all going to be better. One day it's going to be better. I'm going to come through this.
Yeah.
And so, that kept me going.
Okay, we'll get to how you bounced back.
Sure.
But obviously, you were prepared for this in a way, because when you were very young and when your parents were divorced, there's a story you tell all the time.
Sure. Well, my growing up, my parents divorced when I was about 4 years old, and so I would then spend every other weekend with my father, and so Dad picks me up for our weekend together. He actually picked me up at my grandparents' house. My mom dropped me off at my grandparents', so Dad comes and picks me up, and it was weird. He took me over to my other grandparents' house, and I'm 4 or 5 years old, and I remember being so upset because I loved weekends with Dad. I mean, that was the highlight. And so he said he had to work for the weekend, and so he left me there, and he actually didn't go to work. He drove over to my mom's house, and my mom had fallen in love with another guy, had a boyfriend, and so my father broke in and murdered her boyfriend right in front of her. So Dad went to prison. And so, kind of grew up with, Dad in prison for a period of time. And, he got out of prison, raging alcoholic, lots of just very interesting things that happened.
Yeah.
And,
it must have been tough on a little kid.
It was and embarrassing as well, with my friends and, going to soccer games and football games and all that, and having other parents there and my friends saying, "Oh, where's your dad?" And I'd say, "Oh, he's out of town." He was out of town.
Yeah.
So, it was interesting growing up.
Yeah.
And so,
but that didn't.
With my friends and, going to soccer games and football games and all that, and having other parents there and my friends saying, "Oh, where's your dad?" And I'd say, "Oh, he's out of town." He was out of town.
Yeah.
So, it was interesting growing up.
Yeah.
And so,
but that didn't depress you there.
It didn't depress me.
No,
No, I was always, I've always been pretty good-natured. I've never, been through any serious depression, aside from this last challenge.
Yeah.
That was the closest I had ever been. And
in the end, he committed suicide?
He committed suicide when I was 13 years old. So,
another blow.
Took his life, another blow.
Yeah.
And, looking back on it, you just have to, a mentor of mine said one time, there's no testimony without a test. And so I've got to look back and say, you know what, I'm grateful for the challenges because it's made me who I am today. As tough as they may have been going through for myself and other people, it's all leads you, whatever's happened to you leads you to who you are today.
Correct.
And so I'm grateful for who I am, and I wouldn't be who I am if all that hadn't happened.
Look at that. Fast forward, you've been laid off. You're living out of your car because you can't pay rent, or you've been kicked out of your apartment. You're living out of your car.
Yeah, actually, luckily only for 2 months. I had, had nothing going on. Couldn't even make the minimum payments on my credit card bills, and it was a bad situation. So I lived out in my beat up car. It had been wrecked twice, and I would bathe, and I'd find gas station bathrooms that the door would lock on the inside, and I'd take my clothes off, and I'd just bathe from the sink and leave, and that's every couple days I would do that. And so it was an interesting story. We all have a defining moment in our life, and one of my biggest defining moments was one night I pull into this town. It's pouring down rain, raining cats and dogs. It's probably midnight, and I would always park in a church parking lot. And I felt like a criminal would feel guilty carjacking me if I was parked in a church. So that's where I would park most of the time. And so I'm laying there, and usually the rain would help me sleep, but that night I just can't sleep. I can't sleep, and it's because I can smell myself. And I actually had a job where I would sell swimming pools. And, so I had an appointment the next morning. I didn't get paid the commissions until the pool got installed, which was a couple months later. So that's why I lived out of my car for the, 2 months. And so I said, I'm never going to sell a pool if I smell like this going into their home. So I thought, well, what do I do? It's raining outside. Why not? So I took my clothes off, I got my bar of soap, and middle of the church parking lot for God and everyone to see. And, I'm showering now. Have you ever showered in the rain?
No.
Not yet?
No.
Okay. You need to do it for kicks sometime. So there's no concentration of water like a shower head. And so I'm standing there going, this is going to take all night. The main road run through town is going there. And so I look over and there's no gutter on one side of the roof. And so the water's, pouring off. And so I literally kind of showered underneath the gutter runoff from the roof of the church. And so it was that night I got back in my car and took inventory of my life. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm at the time 21 years old, $30,000 in debt. I'm homeless. I'm lonely. I've got no friends. I'm in another state, actually. I don't know anyone. And I said, something's got to change. And I remember I had kept a journal at the time, and I still have the journal today. And I remember writing in my journal, it was that night, I said, I don't care what it takes. I don't care how hard I have to work, what I have to learn, what I have to do. I'm going to become one of the most successful men out there. And
you told yourself this?
I told myself that. And so I made a commitment at that point. I said, it's got to change. I've got to turn myself around. And so I started immersing myself in personal development. And Tony Robbins has been, a great mentor of mine, been to all his trainings and read his books and so forth. And he talked about the concept of modeling. And modeling basically, if you want to have success in your life, find someone who's had this kind of success that you want, has the lifestyle that you want, figure out how they did it, do the same thing, get the same result. And I looked at him and I related to his story of going from living in a 400 square foot bachelor apartment, washing his dishes in a bathtub because he had no kitchen, to making over $1 million a year in income. And one of the things that he talked about that he did was he immersed himself in knowledge. He read over 700 books on how the human mind works and the human psychology and just everything he could get his hands on. And so I said, well, that's something that I can model. I don't have a financial vehicle that's going to make me a lot of money, but if I invest in my most important asset, this, then I can figure it out if I've got the knowledge. And so I started reading a book, about one book every 2 days or so. And I couldn't afford to buy the books at the time. I would actually go to the bookstore and I'd just camp out because I had plenty of time living out of my car. So I'd spend hours and hours a day in the bookstore and I'd just read through the books in the bookstore. And over that course of time, I read so many books and started, growing myself here. And everyone always asks, what's the key to success? And
what is the key? What is the key?
In my mind, it's investing in your most important asset. Many people will spend, in a year they'll spend hundreds or $1,000, dollars, U.S. dollars on fuel or petrol for their most important, for their vehicle, but they will invest almost nothing in their most important vehicle, which is their mind, most important asset. And so, it's Ben Franklin. He said, if you empty your pocketbook into your mind, no one can take it from you. And many people are walking around and the clothes that they're wearing are worth more than the money they've invested in knowledge that they've put in here. And so, I told myself at that point, I'm just going to get the knowledge that no one else had. And it's become, one of my overriding principles in anything that I get involved in, whether it's starting a publishing company with this book or, sales or speaking or whatever it is, the knowledge is out there. All I have to do is find someone who's a lot smarter than me. In fact, one of the chapters of my book is Why Invent the Average When You Can Copy Genius. So there's a lot of people who are a lot smarter than I am. So if I can take the knowledge from their mind and learn what they know, then I can apply it and, have a similar amount of success. And so that's what I've, just continued to do over the years. It's never me at all. It's just learning from other people who are a lot smarter.
Let's talk more about that after the break, man.
Absolutely.
35?
Yes, sir.
Disgusting, man. Well done. Matt Morris, folks, author of the best-selling book, The Unemployed Millionaire. What a title. I tell you, this could change your life. It's changed his. He's only 35 years old. Listen to the challenges he's been through. Two things come out. He never gave up, and he's still walking like Johnny Walker. Do not even think of touching that remote control, folks. You could all use a bit of motivation. Matt Morris has brought it to town, to the bench, which is back in a moment. And welcome back to Capital Talk. What a week it's been on the bench. It's great when we break the theme of the week once in a while, especially when it comes to trying to motivate us all. And I tell you, this young man, Matt Morris, folks, 35 years old, best-selling author of The Unemployed Millionaire. He also has another book which has gone to sequel or volume number 5, The Art and Science of Success. Folks, this is changing lives out there. They're in Kenya, on the ground, doing amazing stuff Friday night, they have a dinner with the MSK. And Saturday, he's motivating people. 2 words, folks. Sit back. You smile so much, man. It's like you don't have a worry in the world, man.
Well, you know, it's smile. Someone said years ago, smiling makes you more happy, and I want to be more happy, so I just smile a lot.
And someone told me, life ain't that serious, man. It's not that serious.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Don't take yourself too seriously.
No.
Exactly.
No. So, Success University almost goes bust.
Yes.
And as you're,
essentially does.
and as you're going down that roller coaster, again, you're able to bounce back. How?
Well, keeping going. As I said earlier, if you're going through hell, keep going. And here's what happened. Actually, I called my mentor in my early 20s. I met a man who he had become a millionaire, and I wanted to learn what he knew, and so I started working with him. And so that was at age 24 when I started earning a multiple six-figure year income, being an entrepreneur, traveling around the world, living what at the time was my dream lifestyle. One of the most brilliant minds I've ever met. So I call him to get some coaching, get some advice, and figure out what I can do, because it's been month after month after month, and I just can't get things turned around. And so I sit in his office. He says, well, come up to my office. And he had just moved into this 38,000 square foot office. And so as I walk in, there's palatial, there's 150 employees running around, and he starts telling me the first year they did about $14 million, the next year they did $40 million, the next year they did about $80 million, and they've done about $250,000 in US dollars in revenues in the first 5-6 years in business.
Despite the economic situation.
Despite the economic situation in the U.S., because the market crashes at the end of 2008, and they're still they're just charting up. Their numbers, the turnover just keeps going up and up and up. And so as I go to him and start talking for advice, I learn about his business model, and I'm just amazed. It's in the travel industry, which I'm incredibly passionate about travel. In fact, in my book, one of the things I talk about is if you follow your passion, the money will come. I think anything you do in life, it's not worth doing unless you're passionate about it. You've got to love what you're doing, because it's just going to help you in everything you do. So anyway, it's travel. I love travel. And he says, at the heart of our company, we're a personal development company disguised as a travel company. So we have independent representatives all over the world, but it's all over the U.S. at the time. But why we're having success is because we invest in our people. The seminars that we do in the personal development and all this, and that's one of the reasons we've become the company. So we were speaking the same language. And so the conversation went from can you give me advice, to how can we work together? And so they were only doing business in the U.S., doing great. And I was doing business all over the world, had contacts, and so we worked out a way to kind of come together. And it was definitely not an easy process. A lot of challenges along the way, but the way it's worked out, it's been pretty unbelievable over the last 3 years. Just through our venture together, we've been able to help well over 100 people earn a full-time income working from home. So many people have given up their full-time jobs to be part of World Ventures.
And you, having traveled to what, 50, 60 countries around the world?
Over 60.
You have lots of connections. You have a network out there.
Sure.
And that helps.
Yeah, business contacts and so forth. In fact, it's amazing how they pop up. The whole reason I'm here was through Facebook. It's amazing, social media now, and especially what's happened with Facebook with 700 million users on Facebook. If it were a country, it'd be the 3rd largest country in the world. So I meet an amazing leader, Andrew Murungi, here in Kenya. And so we start talking about Facebook, and he's intrigued with the business model, and he took the stamp. He said, I want to plant the flag in Kenya for what you're doing. And so, we've started working together, and this is my first trip out. He's, earned a pretty amazing income, on a part-time basis doing what he's doing, and he's just great leadership. And I believe everything rises and falls based on leadership, whether it's companies, churches, government organizations, even your own family rises to success or plummets to failure based on your ability to lead that. And so that's why we're here, is, just great leadership. And we've met so many other amazing leaders since we've been here. And, having been here here a couple times in the past. I love the market. Everyone's just so friendly and optimistic, and it's just a great energy here. So excited to be back.
Great energy, but recently there's been a whole spate of grenade attacks and bombings and a lot of anxiety in the air.
A lot of anxiety.
We could use some motivation right about now.
Sure. So Saturday, we're gonna rip it up on Saturday. It's gonna be a good day.
Yeah.
An awesome day.
At Nazarene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nazarene Church in Gong Road.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah, 10 a.m. It's a free event. There's no cost for guests to come to the event. So, it'll be fun.
Yeah, this travel club, can it grow more? Is there a market for it in places like Kenya?
Absolutely. Here's what's happened. We actually opened up a while ago. We opened up South Africa, and South Africa, thousands and thousands of members. So many people have gotten in South Africa, have gotten full-time income. We actually opened up Zimbabwe, and in Zimbabwe, hundreds and hundreds, probably well over 1,000. In fact, we had 2,000 people at our launch event. Wow. The Minister of Tourism spoke at our launch event. Then he actually flew over to the United States and spoke at our big international convention, and so we've gotten the endorsement of a lot of very high-profile people with what we're doing. And so the concept is pretty unique. And in the U.S., a couple of the biggest success stories in the United States are Sam's and Costco. It's a bulk buying concept, so they go out and buy home care products and peanut butter and toilet paper and all that in bulk. They pass the savings on to their members, and so we go in, rather than an individual going to a resort and buying a room, they're going to get a certain price buying that one room. Well, World Ventures will go in and buy anywhere from 50 to 2,000 rooms. We'll take over entire resorts of all World Ventures people, so there's no markup on the trip. They market the trip at cost, and so in many cases they go in. In fact, that's a requirement for us to do a deal with a property, is it has to be a price that you absolutely cannot get for the same or less anywhere else. In fact, we have a guarantee on our product where if you find the same trip for a less price, we'll refund all your money and send you on the trip for free. It's an amazing guarantee because it's just the negotiating power. With we've had about 200. They market the trip at cost, and so in many cases they go in. In fact, that's a requirement for us to do a deal with a property, is it has to be a price that you absolutely cannot get for the same or less anywhere else. In fact, we have a guarantee on our product where if you find the same trip for a less price, we'll refund all your money and send you on the trip for free. It's an amazing guarantee because it's just the negotiating power. With we've had about 200,000 members in 21 countries around the world join World Ventures as a member. So the buying power of what we're able to do has been pretty significant. And so everyone wants to travel. Number one dream in the world. In fact, USA Today did a survey years ago and said if you won the lottery and had all the time and money that you wanted, what would you do with your life? And the number one answer by far, over 90%, number one answer, travel. It's what we all want to do. We all want to go see the world, but for many people, they have it in their mind that they can't afford to travel. Yeah. And so what we're able to do with this concept is to basically provide people vacations that with pricing that they couldn't get on their own. So we open people's mind up to a world of travel they previously never knew existed.
Yeah. Is there a website people can go to if they want more information? Can we put something up?
The best thing,
you let me know, and then
I'll let you know, and then we can maybe put it on the screen in the post-production. So, because I want to just make sure there's the right channels are followed and so forth. So
you're on Twitter and Facebook as well.
I am, yes.
What's your handle?
So my website is Matt Morris, and then on you can actually, if you go to mattmorris.com, you can click on the Twitter link there, or you can do twitter.com/Matthew D. Morris. And find me there.
Cool.
Yep,
there's probably a young entrepreneur out there, and Kenyans don't read very much, so don't expect this to sell very much here. That's just the way it is.
Got the audio version. Okay. Always selling.
What advice would you give, the one piece of advice for the young man or woman who obviously has been through a couple of trials and tribulations, just like you did when you were younger? What would you tell them is the one thing to keep them going?
Can I tell you two things?
Go on. I'll take two.
Here's two. Your past doesn't determine your future unless you let it. I mean, that was so true for me because I had business failures. Most people will look at a business failure or any kind of failure in life and put it in their mind that their belief system says, well, I'm not good at this because of whatever experience. Your past has no determination on your future, has no bearing on your future. And so, that's one, is just have the mindset that whatever you want to do is possible. And, my belief from a spiritual standpoint is we're all created equal. You can't look at anyone else and say that person is better than me. And so that's got to be your core belief in yourself, is that, and it almost sounds arrogant, but you got to think no one is better than me. When it comes to whatever it is that you want to do, no one is better than me. At the same point, I'm not better than anyone else.
Yeah.
It's it's an equal and a level playing field. And so that's one, is the mindset. And then number two is the knowledge. I had Jack Canfield, one of the best-selling authors of all time, sold over 100 million copies of his book Chicken Soup for the Soul. He said one of the keys is to become an expert. If you want to be in sales or marketing or whatever it is, become an expert in that field. And he said, here's the thing, if you read 5 books on one subject, go to 5 seminars on one subject, listen to 5 audio programs on one subject, that's more than what 99% of everyone else in your industry will ever do. So you can put yourself in the top 1% knowledge level by going through 5 programs on one subject. And so, for me, when I wanted to get involved in internet marketing, I started an internet marketing company years ago. What did I do? I went out and read 5-10 books on, that one subject, went to the seminars, and I got the knowledge. And what happens is when you elevate your level of knowledge and you know more than 99.9% of everyone else, your chance of succeeding are so much higher. And so I kind of believe there's a formula for success, and the formula is pretty simple. And I'd love to, if someone can say it's more complicated, I'd love to hear it. But in my mind, it's easy. And this is why I think, my belief system for myself is you could drop me in any city in the world that probably speaks English, take away all my contacts and money, and I know that I can become a millionaire all over again. Why? Because I know the formula, and the formula is this: your success is equal to your financial vehicle multiplied by your effort, multiplied by your skill. And so a lot of people work really hard, and they have a lot of skill, but the vehicle is never going to get them where they want to go. They don't have the right financial vehicle. So you've got to find the right financial vehicle. For me, World Ventures, and for many others, it's been the company that we're working with. And so for effort, that's up to you. You got to be able to work hard, and there's just no shortcuts around it.
Yeah.
You got to outwork everyone else. And so Jim Rohn years ago, I remember listening to one of his CDs, and he said, someone may be 10 times more skilled than you can still win if you're willing to work 10 times harder. But the thing is, it makes it so much easier if you enhance the skill. So skill's the multiplier.
Yeah.
Work on your skills, work on yourself more than you work on your profession, and that's going to be huge.
And one more little thing: never give up.
That's it.
Never
Keep going.
give up.
Keep going.
Matt, where you gonna be in 10 years, man?
10 years. We'll be probably at a couple more children. And we'll be, it's impacting lives.
You'll
My
be my age then.
That's right. So I want to go from helping about 100 people have a full-time income to thousands of others, and helping hundreds of people become millionaires.
Keep doing it, man. Keep doing
Sir.
it.
Thank you.
Clearly, you're unselfish, right, in this. Well done.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy the talks. Welcome
Thank
back
you.
to Kenya.
Thanks so much.
Best-selling author, folks, Matt Morris. You pick this up if you can, if you want, if you dare. Let's dare them. If you dare, folks. The Unemployed Millionaire. This could be you sometime soon, folks. Matt Morris in town, and if you're around Saturday, Nazarene Church off of Gong Road, 10 a.m., go listen to this man. I could listen to him all day long because, folks, he just says it. He calls it. He has no inhibitions. Yes, folks, and he does it without fear or favor or favoritism, for that matter. Whoa! What a guest, what a show, what an unemployed millionaire, folks. Yeah, with a diamond ring, which we're going to possess in a few little short minutes. You're going to find guests like Matt Morris anywhere else, but right here on the bench, on the award-winning station, K24, where we are. Yes, you guessed it. Even in times of the unemployed millionaire, we are still
All Kenyan, all the time.
well done, Matt.
Thank you.
Great job.
Awesome.
Capital Talk is filmed at Fairmont, the Norfolk.